Welcome to another Compassion Works for All video. This is Anna Cox, and I'm here with my wonderful friend, Annie Tendron. And Annie Tendron is a member of our Compassion Works for All board for many years. And we have known each other for almost, let's 30 some years.
201, almost 30 at least. 30.
Yeah, here we are. We can't add, but we can sure talk about compassion and kindness and doing wonderful things. And so we've been talking a lot, actually, about practicing compassion and kindness and having those little things in our life that remind us to practice. And tell them a little bit, Annie Tendron, about what we've talked about today or before about practicing kindness, living a practice of kindness.
Well, I think it's one of the most essential practices, and it's the kind of practice that you don't have to do on a cushion. It's the nice thing about practicing kindness, and the term I think in Tibetan is loving kindness, is that you have constant opportunities every day to do that, and you have constant choices to make. I have constant choices to make, we all do, as to how we're going to react and how we're going to deal with people, and sometimes deal with people who are saying bad things to us or being negative or something like that. We always have the choice as to how we're going to react, and so to me the practice of loving kindness is choosing to react with kindness rather than with more anger or hatred or aversion. So it's a constant choice that we make, and that's the practice, is the constant choice all day, every day, whoever we meet. And if we don't meet anybody, perhaps we're alone all day, we have thoughts about people, obviously, and sometimes we have thoughts about people that we don't like or people that we do like. And so always to practice loving kindness for me is, even if I'm alone during the day and I'm thinking about people, I try to change my thoughts from negative thoughts about them to trying to understand where they're coming from and trying to think about them with kindness, loving kindness, rather than with aversion or something negative, some negative thought.
And even about ourselves,
Yes.
having thoughts about ourselves.
Yes, we were just having this discussion about guilt, because a good friend of mine once said to me, "You're guilty, therefore you are. This is the way you exist. You think you exist because you have so much guilt." And that's really nailing it on the head for me. Because if we do have, if we do have constant kind of negative thoughts about ourselves, or we didn't do enough, or we didn't do something right, or whatever, actually my friend just said to me this morning, this is your ego's way of beating you up. You know, all these negative thoughts that you might have. My mother just passed away 3 weeks ago, and now I'm having all these regrets that I didn't treat her better sometimes. And so we're talking about that kind of guilt. It's just, it's useless. It's past and it's gone, and it's the only use it has is to keep the ego alive, really, to keep this kind of self-existence going, and this self-grasping at a self. So if I'm guilty or if I feel bad about myself, then I still exist, right? So the purpose of loving kindness in that situation, I think, is to apply it to oneself, and not to beat yourself up anymore, but to actually be kinder about your actions, about your life, to yourself, so you think better thoughts. And because thinking negatively is useless, it doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever.
And when we were talking a little while ago, you were saying something that I think might be very helpful for people to notice for themselves, is what are the hooks that kind of catch us and catch our focus. So then we're kind of traveling that well-worn path back again to our favorite old bad feelings and patterns. Talk a little more about those hooks.
The word, we're translating this as hooks, or whatever it is that grabs us. It could be attachment, like a strong attachment towards someone or something, or possessions in this case, some cases, or people, or it could be aversion and anger. So the hook that would grab us in terms of anger or negative things would be if someone says something bad to us, and then we get angry. And so they've hooked us in a way. Whatever their words have come out have hooked us, and we're in this circle then of, oh, well, that makes me angry, therefore I'm going to retaliate and say something bad back to them. The word in Tibetan is shempa, and it actually does mean to hook, to grab or to hook. And so it's whatever it is grabbed in your consciousness whenever something good or something bad is said about you or to you. It can go either way. It could be an attachment hook. It could be an anger hook. And a friend of mine I was just talking to just said she just got some teachings from Pema Chodron about that very thing, about when you are hooked, like say something said very negative, somebody says something very negative to you about you, like, oh, you're such a, whatever. and the first thing she said, the first thing to think about doing is ventilate around it, is to give some room around that. So when somebody says something bad you like that, you give it some room, some space around it, so it isn't that direct hook into your consciousness, but there's more spaciousness around it. And then the second thing she said was to think of it as a mirage. Your feelings of anger, their feelings of anger, it's all a mirage. It doesn't really exist. It just came into the air as a word or two. And to think of it as if there was an arrow shot into a mirage, there's nothing to hit. So there's nothing to be hooked if there's nothing to hit. If there's no strong sense of I was just, someone just said something bad to me, then it's like an arrow shot into a mirage. There's nothing to hit there. And then the third thing was to not retaliate, and to think of that non-retaliation as this is your gift to that person. If you give them the gift of not retaliating, then they don't create any further negative karma. They're not hooked into further anger and abuse or whatever's going to whatever they're going to say next. So if you give them non-retaliation, if you don't retaliate in any way, verbally, physically, then they have the gift of, they don't have to keep being involved in it themselves. They're free. That's the gift you gave them. So that's all about that. If you can just avoid thinking about the hooking that way, with spaciousness and with the image of a mirage, being a mirage, and also with non-retaliation, I thought that was really good advice.
Mm-hmm. And all of that makes it so much easier to practice kindness when we don't get hooked into those old things. I'm going to suggest that we call this one of our meditation videos, because now having these words of wisdom from Annie Tendron, that this is a good thing for somebody, for those of you out there watching, to just meditate on her words. Think of her words as seeds that are planted in you, and with your meditation and letting all of this find how it's true for you, then consider saying, I practice compassion, and live your life with that dedication of I practice kindness, I practice compassion, I practice in ways that I benefit others. So we're going to make some more Annie Tendron videos as we can, so you will see Annie Tendron again. And thank you so much. This is such a treat. I'm so glad you did this for us.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody out there, for watching. And please watch all of our Compassion Works for All videos.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.